welcome to CrossTalk, where we talk all things Holy Cross. We are here kicking off season 2 of the Holy Cross podcast, CrossTalk, and we're excited to have a teacher and some students here to talk about a really awesome trip from this summer. Today's episode is sponsored by Canes, our partner in all things Canes next door to Holy Cross. So thank you, Canes. Well, today we are here with one of our amazing teachers in our social studies department, Mr. Nelson Bodenbender. And to get started with the conversation, I'm just going to let you just introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, your legacy here at Holy Cross, kind of let the audience just kind of get a feel for who you are.
Sure. Well, I graduated from Holy Cross in 2014. Went to school at Western Kentucky to get my degrees and am currently in my master's program. And I've really been teaching since I got out of college. And I've been here since 2021, I think, 2021. I coached baseball for a little bit. I'm going to be returning back to that once I'm done with grad school. And operate the shop club as a moderator right now too, so that's really fun. Shop club, for those who don't know, is for like building stuff with power tools and hand tools, or like wood and things like that. So somebody thought it was about shopping the other day, so I had to clarify. So
yeah, you probably had some different interested people in that.
Very different, yeah.
So teaching for a while, you teach some really, you teach AP U.S. history, you teach some world history, you've taught modern military history, lots of diverse courses within the social studies department. So as you've been doing this, when did you first kind of start thinking about the educational experience abroad for students at Holy Cross?
Well, I would say actually fairly early on. I like to think I was one of the few teachers that leads their classes in field trips, and field trips was one of the things that I always look forward to as a student. So I was like, well, the best way to bring that back and give it to my students was to start leading them myself. So for my military history class, we often take a yearly field trip to the Patton Museum just down the road in Fort Knox. And then even when I was teaching Kentucky history, we took a field trip to Boonesboro, a little bit further away, but it's still, like getting out of the classroom and like experiencing and seeing and being able to like interact with pieces of history. I think, especially for history, it can get very dull after just kind of like just reading about things for a while. So, something a little more interactive was something I always wanted to do. And that naturally led into fully international trips.
Yeah, so going from the Patton Museum that's just down the road to going across the ocean is a little bit intimidating. So can you talk a little bit about how the trip kind of came to be, the planning of it, the partnership that you have with EF Tours, and the trip itself?
Yeah, well, so I really first heard about EF Tours from like a little postcard I got in my mailbox here at school. And, that is kind of advertised like, oh, win yourself a free trip to, Munich. And I was like, I'm interested. So I figured I'd at least check it out and see what was going on with it. And as I learned more about it, it is EF stands for Education First. So it is primarily a trip that's meant to educate. So it's not just like, oh, we're going to go have vacation. Yeah, it's not vacation. So as talk to any of the people who went on the trip, we were moving very frequently and quite a lot. So so I was first introduced with that postcard, and then I was really enticed by one of the trips that they were having this last summer. It was the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasions during World War II, and being a history teacher, I was like, that's got to be it. But as I got more into it, I started to kind of get a little nervous because that was like a 15 or 16 day trip, and I was like, I don't know, that seems like a lot. I kind of want to start out on like the bunny slopes a little bit. So England and Ireland trip that we took, it was by far the most common trip that's been taken for, U.S. students. And I think after I talked more with my consultant at EF, who's kind of like my tour coordinator, she helps me out get like a lot of resources and information and helps recruit. She really eased a lot of my, I guess concerns that I was having leading up to the trip. So yeah, that was really the first time I interacted with EF, and that was the first trip that I'd led. So
yeah. So when you think about this particular location for student engagement, what do you think are some of the bigger picture things that they can gain from a trip to England and Ireland?
Well, personally, also one of the draws for the Ireland and England side is that we have a lot of, at least here locally in the city of Louisville, a lot of like Irish immigrant families or like descendants of, and also English as well. So like there is kind of like that familial tie for a lot of people in this area. I've also been considering planning a trip to Germany as well, because I know that's another, prominent immigrant group here in the, at least in the city. But I think overall, because the United States has had so much interaction with both of those countries, and whether it be for like the independence movement from like the Irish, like the United States supporting them and becoming the Republic of Ireland, but then also obviously our interactions with England and obtaining our own independence, there's a lot of like cross, history connection between both of those nations that at least the United States is tied to. So I think, again, it's easy for me to tie a lot of my classes into that stuff that we learned and saw over there. So yeah, it kind of made it almost like a no-brainer kind of connection for me.
Yeah. So thinking about you as the leader of this group going over there, was there something in particular that you didn't expect that happened, or not necessarily that happened, but an insight or learning or aha moments with the students that you were like, man, I really didn't expect that?
Well, there were many. It was funny, like seeing students outside of the classroom setting, especially during the summer. So it's a little kind of weird, like, it's not the classroom, it's not the school. So it's a little different. One that I like that when I first came to mind was the food. There are a lot of students that we have who only explicitly eat chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. And it is something I was like, you're in a different country. You're trying like different foods. Like it's not that different from what we normally eat. Like you got to at least try this stuff. So that was one thing I was like really surprised. And any of my, the travelers that went on the trip, you can definitely attest that like I was hounding them. I was like, you got to try the food. Just try the food. Yeah. And then, we were in like Dublin and London, and like, they were like, where's McDonald's? Can we go to McDonald's, please? And, so that was one thing that was a little bit surprising. Also trying to lead a group of 29 people, even parents included and chaperones, through an airport. A busy airport is something I have never had before. Even I don't like normally flying or going to the airport. It's a lot of lines and, waiting. And just with 29 people, it really kind of upped the ante a little bit. And it was like herding cats. And I had to like keep looking like, who are we missing? Are we missing anybody? So I was just, constantly just looking.
You had some first time flyers on this trip too. Yes. So that's always interesting, especially for that long of a trip.
Well, I mean, I was very proud of them because they all handled it like really, really well. So, no issues there, but we had a lot of like nervous flyers but honestly on the return flight, everything was a little bit easier. You've been through it once, you've been through it twice. So, yeah.
So it went so well this past summer that you are now starting to plan another trip for the summer of 2026. So can you talk to, there might be some people listening who have students, parents who have students at Holy Cross, or maybe will in the future, or maybe some students who want to know a little bit more about this trip in 2026.
Absolutely. So the next trip is going to be for Italy. And one of the things I learned on the trip to Ireland and England, because we were going between two separate countries, one of the factors that I had not really thought about was the travel time between those two countries, because we took a ferry that was 4 or 5 hours long. It was a long ferry ride. So I was like really kind of set on just doing one country for this next trip. And Italy was the one that everybody kept coming back to, like, oh, like Italy would really be the one that I want to go to. So this one's going to cover, like in length, at least the entire length of Italy. It's going to start in the north, like Milan, and then go to Florence. We're going to go to Assisi. And then we're going to spend, a couple days, in Rome, and like, we're going to be able to go into the Colosseum and go to the Vatican, to the Sistine Chapel, and like, a lot of the things that especially we at Catholic school have been, talking about and, learning about for all these years. So I was like, that's gotta be like a really, really, good connection for our trip there. Yeah. So yeah, the Italy one was something that I was really interested in.
Yeah. So you have an informational meeting set for September 11th.
That's right. Wednesday, 6:30.
That evening. So if anyone's listening and interested in the trip, I know that it seems like it's a long way away, but I know being part of this process, it went really fast.
Yeah.
And it did allow, one thing that I was really proud of, one of the things that at Holy Cross that we had kind of not explored international travel as much because it is very expensive, but the way that you were able to structure that people did payment plans over 2 years and were able to make it work on top of, just being able to come to Holy Cross. So I was very appreciative of that as well. So good luck on the next trip.
Thank you.
And we have some students who are going to be here to tell their favorite stories from the trip. So thank you, Mr. Bodenbender, for taking the students. It was a great addition to the Holy Cross education, and we look forward to more. So we just heard from Mr. Bodenbender, who led our Holy Cross students into this past summer, a trip to England and Ireland. Great experience. Heard all about it. And tonight, now we are going to talk to our students who attended the trip. And so we have two seniors who are here with us that were on the trip this summer. Morgan Neuner and Nate Rickard, who experienced England and Ireland as part of this trip. And I've asked them to come and talk a little bit about the most favorite parts of the trip, things that stuck out to them, traveling internationally, all the things they saw. So, Morgan, what sticks out for you?
I would say my favorite part was probably like going to London, but like more specifically, like the London Eye. It was just cool to be able to like see everything from like above the air. And I mean, like everything you see on pictures, like it just looks 10 times prettier in person. And like it was like a huge Ferris wheel, and I felt like I was in a bubble. There's air conditioner. They took pictures of us. I don't know. I just thought it was like really cool and like really neat.
Mm-hmm. When you think about being kind of a foreigner in another country, how did that feel? What were some things that you thought about in that situation?
I was a little scared. I've never been out of the country. I've never been anywhere where, like I have an accent to them. So I was a little nervous at first, but everybody there was like super nice, super helpful. They just kept asking, "Are you from America?" And I'd be like, "Yep." And they'd be like, "What state? What part?" And I was like, "Louisville." And they'd be like, "I don't know what that is." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't think so." But I was a little scared at first, but it was cool.
Yeah. So Nate, you were on the trip as well. So what's a part of the trip that stood out for you?
Well, I liked going to Dublin, and we got to go on a horse carriage ride, and we got to go through a forest. It was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Have you been on a horse carriage ride before?
No, I've never been a fan of horses,
okay.
But it looked cool.
Okay. What were some of the sights that you saw, or something that stood out? Was the landscape different there, and how?
The forest was very big, and there were people biking through the forest. And we went to, I think it was like a small castle, and it was a pretty nice castle. We didn't get to go inside of it, but we got to go on the outside.
Yeah. So when you think about the difference between the culture of Ireland that you were immersed in and the culture of England and all our own American culture, what would you say are some of the main differences that stood out to you on the trip?
There was no air conditioning in the stores.
Okay.
It was really hot in the stores.
Yeah. What about the people? Was there differences in the different people, or did you not notice?
They were kind of mean.
Who was mean?
The people.
All of them?
I don't know. I got stared at a lot.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of staring.
Okay. So you were a foreigner in their homeland.
We probably looked American, so
Right.
they're like looking at us Americans.
Right.
Because we're different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say, if you learned one thing on this trip, what would you say you took away from it? It could be about a particular place, or it could be just about like being an American or traveling internationally. What is something that you feel like you took away from that?
I hate long plane rides.
Okay. Do you think you'll do that again? A long trip like that?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
Did you sleep on the plane?
Tried to.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like on top of the seat.
Mm-hmm.
My head was not comfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Very
Okay.
uncomfortable. Person in front of me had their seat back.
Yeah. So if you are giving some advice to people who are going on an international trip, maybe it's people going on the 2026 Italy tour, and something that you wish somebody maybe would have told you prior to an international trip, what would you say?
I guess try everything.
Mm-hmm.
Go to as many stores as possible. Do everything you can.
Mm-hmm. Or you want someone that tried the food?
Oh, I love the food.
Okay,
It was
good.
way better than American food.
Well, good. Well, hopefully, you guys are years from now, you'll look back on this trip and really appreciate all the work that Mr. Bodenbender and the other chaperones did, and your parents and whoever helped support you in terms of paying for it. So we have two more guests. So now we have two other students that came on the trip this past summer. We have Cole Wiegnadt, who's a senior here at Holy Cross, and also Juliet Youdell, who's a senior. And they're going to share a little bit about their experience. So Cole, talk a little bit about when you were going into the trip, a project that you were kind of focused on.
I wanted to add something to my portfolio for film and video. So I decided that I would capture the landscapes and the city life of the cities we went to. So while I was in Dublin and London, and when we were in Wales, I captured still videos of the people walking by, the landscapes we came across, and how our group walked through them.
So one of the things we've talked to the previous guests about is just the different cultures and just having more of an awareness of, we're so used to American culture. What's something that stood out to you about the differences in culture?
Just first off, the accents are different, obviously. This is my first time being out of the country, so just experience different ways of life, how people live, the different architecture of the houses, different foods, obviously, but yeah.
What's something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating kind of learning or seeing?
I'd say how globalized it is. I expected there to be some differences between British culture and our culture, but I didn't feel that different from the people that we were talking to. And more specifically in Ireland, I'd say Ireland has a lot of similarities to Louisville because of the immigration to Louisville. But yeah.
What were some, I know that you had looking up some names, some surnames in terms of where they came from. Can you talk a little bit about that experience, what you found with a grandparent's name?
Oh, yeah. We went to the Ireland Immigration Museum, and there is a part of it where you can look up surnames of your relatives, and I looked up my great-grandmother's last name, and it popped up, and it shows a little bit information about the surname and, you know, the origin of it and the other living relatives in other countries throughout the world.
Awesome. Any advice you'd give to the next group traveling abroad?
I'd say be open, kind of leave your American views and beliefs behind, and just be open to how people live their life. And yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Juliet, so you took a lot of different stops along the way this trip. I mean, you guys were sun up to sundown, seeing all the things. What stood out to you?
I really liked going to London, and just like the changing of the guard was really cool.
Were you aware of that very much before you went?
That we were gonna see it, or just like
what it was and how?
I've seen it on the internet before, and I've seen like places where they have like the guards on horses, but that was just like, it was like a whole different experience. Like they were playing just like super loud, like it was good music. I mean, like, but it was just like they were marching, and their uniforms, they had to be so hot. Those uniforms, I mean, it was really cool. And I just liked London in general, like the architecture there. Like the buildings were like very old and just beautiful, honestly. It was just a really cool experience to just walk around. We had a good like chunk of time to walk around London and like shop, and we had like 6 or 7 hours, I think. But I bought lots of stuff in London. I got some good like little.
See, there you go, the shopping club. So if you I haven't asked this question yet, but if you were to go do this again, same trip, what is one place you wish you would have been able to stay longer or do more?
I would probably say Dublin. I like cities more. Like landscape was beautiful everywhere in Ireland, but I really liked the city. Dublin was really cool. I didn't really get to walk around there like too much, just because, well, I had something planned for during our free time there, but I don't know. I would like to walk around and shop and just see more there. But
so you're more of you want to see the people and the busyness of the city. Was there something that surprised you about people? Did you find that, oh gosh, was your takeaway, we're so similar or we're so different?
Kind of different. I would say different just because they have lots of different, like, I don't know, like a lot of stuff that just differs from how we live here in like the United States. I would say Europe in general, not just like Ireland, but that the people in Ireland were pretty nice. I would say that they were probably more like how we are here. I would say like, I mean like, as like Southern hospitality goes,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like,
So more,
they
not
were
even
pretty-
American, but more specifically.
No, they were
to the
pretty
South.
like welcoming and like just you know more just between like Ireland and England. That's
Do you
how I
do you
felt.
see yourself traveling internationally again?
Oh, for sure. I love to travel. I love to experience like new things and just see how everybody else like lives.
Any advice you'd give to the next group going on a trip?
I would say just prepare for the travel days, just because they can get pretty crazy. And after your travel day, well, basically the first travel day is like 2 whole days, and you're just
Losing a lot of sleep and trying to
you're
make
just
the time change.
exhausted, and you're just ready to.
You kind of have to,
Yeah.
you just kind of
But
have to
you
put
just
your
gotta
head
keep
down and
going.
keep going those
You
first
just gotta
couple
keep
days.
going.
Yeah.
Just be prepared. I
Yeah.
would say, and bring deodorant. It's pretty bad.
Hopefully everyone packed that. Well, good. Well, I appreciate you all being on today. And if you are interested in the Italy trip in summer of 2026, Mr. Bodenbender is getting that started. Then the first meeting for that will be September 11th here at Holy Cross. And you could reach out to Mr. Bodenbender if you're interested at nelson.bodenbender@holycrosshs.com. And he will gladly get you signed up and ready to go with EF Tours trip to Italy. And that's it for our CrossTalk podcast. Thanks for joining us. Be ready for episode 2 coming soon.